is Aaron Woes Martin. I'm from Kaneohe, Hawaii, the east side of Oahu, but now I am based in Los Angeles, California, and I'm out here with the good people of Bend, Oregon. I came out to come chill with the Pacific Circle, this new lounge, super sick lounge. This is the illest shit ever. But yeah, I basically came out for the grand opening, and I came and DJ'd the opening night on my little controller and just played some soul, some down tempo, some boom bap, reggae and dancehall, and just have fun, man, sharing music. Dude, I've been a creative probably ever since I could draw, man. I was always attracted to like characters and stuff, you know. So 80s cartoons, man, from G.I. Joe to Transformers, Visionaries, and Humanoids, Mask. All that stuff inspired me to get into drawing and comic books, you know, and Saturday morning cartoons was a huge push for that, and Kung Fu theater right after. So all that stuff, like, I guess it got my machinery to go, you know, and then I discovered comic books, and it was over from there, man. I was just drawing all the time, trying to make up my own characters and superheroes and giving them powers and just making characters. And then discovering Beach Street, that movie Beach Street came out, and Ramo and you know, New York City trains, even though it was like a commercially made movie about breakdancers, true name B-boys. It was my first exposure, you know, because it was mainstream and it was on TV and it was in the theaters, and that shit just bugged me out, man. And during that time, my homie had brought a book to school, and I think I was in 2nd or 3rd grade, and he introduced a book called Spray Can Art by Henry Chalfant. I think I'm saying the name right. But it basically was a good documented picture book of New York City graffiti. Legends like Vulcan, Futura, Scene, Motu, like just a bunch of cats that I had discovered, and I remember tracing everything in that book, man. Somehow I got my friend to let me borrow the book, and I had traced so many shit in that book because it was just so bugged out. And from there I was hooked. I was hooked onto like graffiti characters, and super fascinated with New York, mostly New York style graffiti and its connection to hip hop, even though graffiti is way older than just hip hop, you know what I mean? It's been around since people like Chaz Bahakwa tagging neighborhood shit, you know. It was some neighborhood stuff, but of course, because I was a hip hop head, I was attracted to the hip hop side of graffiti, and been rocking it ever since. I was just fascinated with the East Coast in general and where hip hop came from. Yeah, growing up, my dad was into, like, you know, he was into funk, and, you know, he introduced me to Sade, the band Yes. He was into Zapp and Roger, you know, like just the early, you know, almost early West Coast shit, you know, and that was me growing up with that kind of music, like 70s funk and 70s rock. And then on top of that, watching all those movies like Beach Street, Breakin', and all that other stuff, like it just all came together. I was born in Hawaii, and then when I ended elementary in 6th grade, my father took us to the Mojave Desert, and he was actually into weed, and at that time it was very sketchy and stuff. So. He just wanted to change his life, you know. He wanted to stop hustling, and for him to do that, he had to like wisp us away off the island, and we ended up moving out to the middle of the desert, and it made our family strong because we, you know, Hawaii is very family orientated, and we're usually trying to connect with other family because, you know, it's like a clan. But when we moved to California, it was just us. So when it was just our family, just our immediate family, we learned to like survive together, and my dad, you know, he changed a lot, and he sacrificed a lot to get us where we're at. But it was cool because, I mean, it was from my upbringing. I spent my whole adolescence in Southern California. And from that, you know, like little local Hawaiian boy from the islands moved to like in the middle of the desert, but still fascinated with graffiti and that kind of stuff. I ended up getting connected with graffiti again, like in my early ended up getting connected with graffiti when I moved back to California, because I ended up kicking it with like these cholo kids, you know, and they were all into tagging, and I didn't. The only thing I knew about graffiti before that was from the breaking movies, you know, the b-boy movies. So yeah, these little Mexican gangster kids I kicked it with, they're actually Highland Park kids. They're from Avenue 43rd. Got me into tagging. They're like, you know, they would see me draw. This one guy would see me draw like comic book stuff, and he's like, "Hey, Holmes, you should tag. You should get into tagging." And I'm like, "What the hell is tagging?" You know, and he showed me and gave me my first name, and then, you know, taught me some calligraphy, some old school cholo letters, and I was doing that kind of letters and a lot of those classic LA blockbuster style cholo tag banging style, and that's how I got introduced to it. And that was 5 years, probably 4 years of my life living in Southern California, getting into that kind of stuff, learning hand styles and throwies and just different types of tagging styles, you know what I mean? But when I moved to Vegas, my junior year in high school, that's when I ended up connecting with cats that were bombing trains and actually doing production stuff, doing wild style and doing that classic, the stuff that I was really fascinated with when I was younger, you know, pieces and wild styles and just whole productions in the drains and on trains and stuff. And that's when it solidified it. I was just like, I went from learning hand styles and tags, now trying to write letters, you know, like full production letters and abstract pieces and whatnot. And then that's when that was like early 90s, so the b-boying came back. The b-boy shit came back, and it was full force hip hop again. Like, and I was in high school, so, you know, I was living through that that tail end of the golden era, and just getting exposed to all that cool shit. To fast forward down the line from being a little knucklehead, hanging out with, you know, like other knuckleheads, bombing, tagging, getting into trouble, like graffiti and bombing and tagging on everything was always in my roots, I guess, because that's what I was into. But it wasn't until later down the line where I actually took art serious, and it was way like it was way later. I had a gnarly car accident in '98 while I was going to school, and from getting into this car accident, it actually, you know, I ended up getting locked up in the room and being off my feet for over a month because I had broken my femur and I snapped this bone too, and I was in the hospital for almost a month, and then it was like therapy, physical therapy for a year, and sitting in a wheelchair and shit. And so all that time I was in my room either drawing or painting. I started getting into acrylic, you know, and it was good therapy for me. And it wasn't even then that I got into it. It was like after I healed. Like I could walk again, I could get a job again. So I was like, I went back to the moving company that my dad manages, the night shift, and I did everything from building crates to shipping and receiving, forklift operation. I did all that stuff, and I remember this dude rolls up on me and he's like, "Yo, Martin, how old are you?" And I'm like, 22. It was 22 or 23, but I remember I told him that I was 22 or 23, and homeboy was like, "Oh man, that's cool. That's when I started here." And the dude was like mid 60s, and I was like, "Hell nah." So not too long ago after that, I put in 2 weeks and got a huge fight with my family because, you know, my dad got me a job again, and I was living at home. I lost my place to live. I lost my car. So then my homie in Seattle was like, "Yo, why don't you move to Seattle, man? We could work on music again. We could kick it. You can get a change of pace, like change your environment. Like, you can just get a new start. And it was from moving to Seattle where I was inspired by a lot of different art, because at the time Hawaii was very conservative. There was really no kind of art, not even conservative public art, none of that, like Seattle had like that corporate art. It had people that, I met these cats that lived in a giant loft, and they were all like Burning Man people, and this is like 10 stories of different types of artists that live in this building. And then of course I was inspired by a lot of the freight. There's a huge graffiti scene and freight scene in the Northwest, so I knew a few writers out there, and I was looking at trains again. I wasn't exactly bombing anymore, but I was just like aware of what was going on, aware of these different scenes. And then there was a store called Houston, and there is when another stage in my life changed, and it was because this store had everything from designer toys to art, prints, magazines, and it was a really dope time to be around in the scene in design, because it was a time when they had magazines like Lowdown and Tokyon and even Giant Robot, and they had all these dope design magazines with art in them. And it was a time it's like skating, punk rock, hip hop, design, everything kind of meshed into one neighborhood, and it was just dope. It was a dope time to be around it, because all your skateboard heroes to your graffiti heroes that were now doing art shit and music, like everything was coming together in these festivals or in these projects, and it was inspiring to see. Like, I was in that store like, yo, like people like Cause, because I've been following Cause way before the hypebeast shit, like he's just ridiculously big. But when he was bombing letters, and Futura had came out with a toy, and Money Mark was this musician cat that I like. He had a toy out too, and there are design legends like even Hecox and Ryan McGinnis and all these cats. They were showing all in this little shop, man, and these are all the shit I was into. It was, like hip hop, punk rock, skateboarding, like and bombing, and all this urban art movement shit was like coming up. It was starting to start up. It wasn't called fucking street art. It was just cats. I guess they're graffiti dudes doing art now. Like they're living off their fucking passion, living off of their art, and they're all OGs. You know what I mean? So when I saw them, and that's another full circle, because some of these cats were the same cats I was talking about when I was in 3rd grade looking at books. You know what I mean? And now years later, I'm in my early 20s, I'm in a fucking art store, and the same cats that inspired me from when I was young was now doing gallery shit and doing stuff that were like really cool and innovative, you know what I mean? So that inspired me even more. So I started doing that kind of art. And from there, that was like from 99 to 2002, that was me in Seattle. Like, to me, that was my college years. I was doing all kinds of crazy shit. I was experimenting in all kinds of drugs. I was partying in the desert. I was bombing again. I was painting. I was meeting all these artists, making collections, and I was even working on some hip hop music. And it was a crazy time for me. So then, I ended up running out of money, and I had to go home. My mom hit me up and was like, yo, you want to come home? I'll buy your ticket home. And I was just like, yeah, but I'm not going to move there. I just want to come home and visit, because everyone knows, man, that island can have some fever, and once you catch that fever, you can have a kid real quick or a few kids, and then you start looking like your uncle. Like, you get hella big and like plate lunches every day, and the cats you used to like point out at the beach before is now you. So I just wanted to visit, because I was really alive and I was living hard in Seattle. So while I was in Hawaii, there was an art show, and I did that art show. I got some dope ass feedback from it, and it made me stay, man. It made me want to stay on the island because I was doing shit that was it was new for Hawaii. You know, it was new for the scene. No one else was kind of doing the shit I was doing, so it was refreshing, but also a lonely place, man, because I didn't have like that crew to vibe with, but I was still pushing on because I was still keeping up with shit on the internet, and I was still researching and buying a lot of books, art books and stuff. So I was still keeping fresh with what I had already started, but also had the one up being in Hawaii because no one else was doing it. So after I had when I finally got my first art show, it was at Kicks Hawaii. It was in conjunction with Kicks Hawaii, Fitted Hawaii, which was actually this guy named this guy named Ola. He did cut and sew, and my homeboy did Lalo and information. So they all got together and helped me put on my first art show, and it was swap meet style where you can come in and you can buy a piece of artwork and take it home. And my pieces went from I think $40, and the most expensive piece in the show was probably $350. So it was my first solo show. It was at the sneaker store that I worked with at the time, Kicks Away, and basically it was for one night. So they emptied the store just for it to be a gallery, and then at the end of the night they would turn it back into a sneaker store. So when people came through, they can buy a piece and just take it with them. So I decided to paint 90 pandas because people were digging it, and I also did like stuffed animals. I also painted on cut and sew clothing for women, like denim joints. And that night I pretty much sold out my whole show almost, like besides a few pieces of the women's gear. But as far as my paintings went and all my stuffed animals that I had made, like everything sold out. And it was the first time I've ever done like something like that, you know what I mean? And I remember somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, yo, Aaron, how much did you make?" And I was just like, "Oh shit, I didn't know," you know. And I felt my pocket, and there was just a fucking fat roll of dough in there, you know. And in my head, I was just like, "Holy shit, I might be able to like make a living off this. Like if I push right and I do it right and follow the right path to like get there, like I think I could make a career out of this," you know what I mean? Yeah, so slowly Information and Kicks started getting me in shows internationally. I think my first art show was in Montreal that I did, a group show. It was called the Broken Deck Show. And then I did San Francisco, and I started doing LA, and I just started getting all these shows with the help of my homies, you know, the streetwear scene, and I started getting my name out there. And once that happened, MySpace happened at the same time, so I started just showing my art on there. And then from there I started meeting homies on MySpace, and then you start meeting cats that are into the same shit as you, but they're like across the fucking planet. But you keep in touch, so you keep in touch with those guys. They're like, "Hey, you want to be in the show? I have this show in my town." I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll send my piece." And it just was like wildfire, man. I was just sending cinders everywhere, you know, and it was just burning up in different cities. And slowly started cutting off my jobs, man. I was working 4 or 5 jobs at the time. I didn't have no days off. I did art for the brief 5 hours I had at my house when I was trying to sleep. So I'd sleep like maybe 3 hours, and the rest I would like work on my shit. But when I started chopping off all my jobs, I only kept one, and that was at Kicks White because I could get some sneakers there. But basically, I would work there for gear, and the rest I was just pushing art. And that was in 03, and now it's 2018, and I've been doing it full time since then. Yeah, I mean, I've been painting pandas since 03, but you know, and it's been a love-hate relationship because before that I used to paint and build a lot of different things, and I kind of got stuck with this character, you know what I mean? Which is a reflection of me. If you look at them, a lot of them look like me in some emotions, you know what I mean? But I mean, once I figured out that people were willing to fly me places and do work in different places in different countries, it was just, I'm like, okay, you know, and I'm gonna roll with this for a while. which made a lot of sense because my grandfather was a huge inspiration on me, and he was an artist. But old school style, you have to take care of your family, man. So you have to sacrifice your love, and you have to take care of family in those days. And he would paint. He'd be painting all the time. He was a carpenter, a fisherman, a musician. He painted oil, acrylics. Like, my grandfather was talented as shit. And I remember he had a library, and in his library he had a Encyclopedia Britannica, and he also had like a shitload of National Geographic magazines. And he would show me and share me like, oh, this is Thailand, or oh, this is what they do in Japan, and he'd show me pictures. Oh, this is what the pirates were like in the Caribbean, like. My grandpa, even though he didn't travel around the world, he read a lot about it. And it's just nuts for me, like, because my grandfather was an artist and he always wanted to travel the world. He always wanted an art career. It's kind of like I took that, he gave me that talent to carry it on. And places he have shown me in National Geographic, I've been to a few of those places at least 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? These are places that my grandfather has shared with me. And to me, that's just a crazy thing. Like, I've never did art to become, like, some of my peers and colleagues, they're fucking giants, you know what I mean? They're giants in the scene. That was never my goal. It would be dope. It would be sweet as fuck. But, I mean, just for the accomplishments I made since then, like the travels and meeting homies from place to place. I was just talking to my homie Vinny about it. It's like, it's a real social network. It's not fucking, it's not Facebook, it's not Instagram, it's not, you know what I mean? I've met these homies in the flesh, and I communicate with a lot of these guys. And I could honestly say, like, I've met probably every hero to me personally. I wouldn't say names, but all my heroes, I think I have met them so far, and I keep meeting new ones. And these aren't necessarily top artist dudes. They could be some random dude that I know that builds fucking cool furniture, or makes cafe racers, or cooks me a good fucking meal in a different country, you know what I mean? That dude could be a fucking homie or a hero that I meet later on, you know what I mean? Because these are solid connections I made with people throughout the years traveling, and a lot of my friends do travel for their personal creative, as a creative. But for me, it's dope because of the places I've been and the people I meet, and now I can go back. It's not like I just meet them and they're like, yeah, come paint, and I'll paint. But some of these cats are like, come back, you have a place to stay. You know what I mean? You don't have to stay in a hotel now. You can stay with my family, you know what I mean? Like, that's the dope shit, actually. That's what I'm really into, that kind of shit. Yes, I guess I would say probably the last 5 years has been heavy traveling for me. And the furthest, I would have to say the best piece I've left somewhere, and it's something totally on the fly, and it's like those quick bombs I do on the canvases, would have to be in this fucking, it was in a little ghetto shanty town in Mongolia. And I did 2 jams in Mongolia, and we were beautifying this neighborhood on this wall, collabo wall. And it was dope. I had fun doing it because it was with all the homies from around the world. There was a homie from Germany, there was, the local kids from Mongolia, there was a dude from Korea. It was dope. But the thing that was fresh about it is we were painting the wall, and all of a sudden, like, all these neighborhood cats started coming out, like just people that lived in the hood over there. And they were like, can you come and paint my wall, or could you come and paint on my house? Like, just randomly, just asking us, you know what I mean? So then I remember painting, and one of the homies that was helping with the project was like, oh, these people want you to paint on their gates or their house or whatever. I know a lady that's down for you to paint. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm down, I'm super down. So, you know, I took like 3 or 4 cans, walked deep into the neighborhood. And I mean, it's the ghetto, but it's not like violent ghetto, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, it's good people, just normal people, you know what I mean? The working class or whatever. But I mean, their home is just like, you know, it's hood because it's like super poor, but it's awesome because just the area I'm in and the part of the world that I'm in, it's just bugged out to me. So I go out there and then this lady comes out with her 2 kids. There's these 2 little Mongolian kids and they're just fascinating, you know, and she's like, yeah, this gate right here. So, you know, I just bombed one of my quick pandas, blue and white style, just real quick, and just the look on the kids' faces, you know what I mean? Like, they're just tripping, you know, and you know, they had told them, oh, this guy is from Hawaii. And just that fact, like, even though I live in LA, I mean, just the fact that for them to hear that there's a dude from Hawaii in the middle Pacific Ocean is in Mongolia painting on their house gate was just so far-fetched to them, you know. And the kids were so happy, dude. So, you know, I shook their hands, gave them pounds, took a little picture with them, and why I say it's my favorite is because these people will always cherish that shit. That shit will stay on their fence. That shit will stay on their wall until the rain, the snow, and the sun chips it away. They'll never paint over that shit. That shit will be there until it starts fading, and they still won't paint on it. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of my murals around the world that has been painted over by other muralists or whatever, but this is in the hood, and it was for 2 little homies, and it's just stuck on their fence, man. It's dope. I'll send you a picture of that. But this is dope because I know those kids are and they're little kids, man, so they're gonna grow up staring at it, you know what I mean? They're gonna be like, yeah, that was that one time this dude from Hawaii came and painted on my fence. In Mongolia.
Right, yeah.
Mongolia was the illest, man. It was so far out there and trippy because I'm Asian myself, and to be all the way in Mongolia, you know, I grew up with every Asian possible, but Mongolians, like true native Mongolians, like them are some big, tough-looking cats, man. They're built like Polynesians, but they're Asians, you know, and that's a trip to me, you know. I remember going out to clubs and you know, a grip of them standing in the corner like, who the fuck are these foreigners? You know, like they had that face, but it really took me back home because that's how local cats in Hawaii is. Like, you just see some big fucking bradas on the corner just staring at you like, oh, who are these guys, you know what I mean? So I graduated from high school in '95, and I was heavy into the hip-hop, Hawaii hip-hop scene. And, you know, our family was poor as shit, so I never had money. I never had goals to go to college. That was never my thing. But, so from like 95 to like 97, all I did was hip-hop. Like, you know, I was an MC for a long time, and I would just do shows, or I would travel and go to b-boy events, or I would be, you know, I was a dancer too, so I lived hip-hop. Hell, I was doing graffiti, bombing, I was painting in drains or whatever. But in 97, I decided to, the end of 97, me and my homies and I all decided to go to school again. Like, we're like, fuck it, let's buckle down, man. Let's go to community college, you know what I mean? And I wanted to become a cinematographer, so I was trying to do my prereqs to get into UH, so I can actually get into film or something, you know? And what happens is you take all your homies from different parts of the island and you go to one school, community college school. It's like high school back again, man. So all we did was like freestyle in the fucking pavilion and and break dance or dance in there and listen to music or play hacky sack and get fucked up. Like it was high school all over again, but now you're with your best homies, like your squad. And for that, it was going on for a little bit, and then finally I was like, fuck, I'm paying for school myself, like I need to figure this out. So I started going to school hardcore. Like I was actually getting in the routine of it. And I was loving it. I was like, yo, fucking getting my education on. And then I think it was the beginning of '98. Yeah, it was beginning of '98. I was fully into school, and my girl and I at the time, we were trying to rush to the film festival in Hawaii, and I was flying it, dude, and we didn't have click it or ticket then, so we didn't have our seatbelts on or whatever, and I was making a left turn on a yellow, and there was, at the intersection, there's another lane that comes, so I'm going this way, and he's coming straight on too. But from where he's at, he can see the yellow light, and he has to come at a curve, and I see the yellow light, and I just have to turn. So we're both, without each other knowing, we were both racing for the yellow light. But it was still his right of way, because I was making a left turn. So boom, we're flying it, and we meet at the intersection head on. He was driving, I don't know what year it was, but it was a Blazer, like a big truck. Like some kind of like, Bronco kind of truck, and I was driving a 91 Sentra. So he smacked us, my dashboard caved in, the engine got ripped out of the car, and I got pushed back. I spun 70 feet behind, and he actually rolled. And that brief seconds, like before, I just remember headlights. But those brief moments, like I jumped for my girlfriend at the time. I was the driver. We both didn't have our seatbelts on. And, I see the headlights coming, and I'm at the wheel. And it was like slow motion, man, but it was seconds. I just see the headlights. Once I see the headlights, I turned like this, and I threw my arm over my girl. And we smacked. Bam! So what happened is the dashboard, the whole dashboard of the car caved in, and it pinned my leg to the chair, which when I jerked this way, it snapped my femur. And my shoulder went into the steering wheel, and it actually tacoed the steering wheel. My mom said the steering wheel, they don't know how I survived, because I hit the steering wheel so hard that it made it into a taco shape. And my girl dragged her face on the windshield, and they said if I didn't jump for her, she would have flew out of the car. So she actually was able to walk out of the car, but she had glass in her face, and she had 2 broken ribs, and they had to cut me out. So I blanked out. I remember after impact, I woke up for 2 seconds, and I just could hear like the sound, like bang, like huge loud sound, and it was like the jaws of life cutting me out. And I just remember hearing voices and opening my eyes and seeing like random people and firemen, and it was chaotic. And I just remember looking out the window. They had pulled the window out, and I could see my girlfriend at the time. She was sitting on like a yard across the street. She was just sitting in the grass, and they had a paramedic looking at her. But yeah, they cut me out, man. They cut me out of the, I just remember hearing the sound, and then I blanked out, and I woke up in the hospital. So I broke my femur, I broke this, and now I have titanium in my bones here and titanium in my arm here. But it was the craziest shit ever happened in my life, but it also was the waking point of my life, because this is when it took everything away from me. School, it took my apartment away, it took everything I owned, my car. I had to move in with my parents, and that's when I started painting, man, because I was indoors and I was living with my parents, and basically everything, all this shit started because I got tossed up around in a piece of metal, man, and I'm here now. So in 2011, into 2012, it was in between, I got involved with my other crew called Army of Snipers. We got involved with a project that was called Little Lotus. And basically, Little Lotus have been doing charity work and nonprofit work all over the world. But for this one, they had a project which was on the border of Burma and Thailand. And it was to go out there and work with, by sharing our art with the kids that were actually refugee kids of human trafficking. So we went out there and we did art projects with them. We helped beautify some of their schools, and it was all for charity, man. It was an awesome project. It was the one time where when that opportunity hit me, it was that one time where I felt like, you know, because I travel around the world, I do art shows here and there, whatever. I mean, it's my living, but it's also, it's not like going somewhere else and I guess, you know, doing something that was bigger than myself kind of thing. And this project just pulled me in, and to go out there and work with these kids was just amazing, man. Like, you know, it was a really cool thing, and it opened my eyes to a lot of things too, because like these were Burmese refugees living on Thailand, because Burma's gnarly, you know what I mean? There's, you know, it's ruled by a dictator. There's all kinds of crazy criminal acts going on over there. So these families would escape Burma and be hiding in Thailand, and they're there illegally, but as long as they stayed out of trouble, the Thai government wouldn't kick them out. You know what I mean? Because they weren't causing trouble; they're just escaping some gnarly shit that was happening in their country. So yeah, these we worked with 3 different schools, and they're all young preteens. To infants, to like little toddlers, man, and we went out there and like worked with them by sharing art and you know, showing a good time with them, and you know, putting smiles on their faces and hopefully inspiring them to be creatives. And it was gnarly, man, because from where they came from, you know, it was tough because, you know, to hear their story and their experiences, it just took me down, you know. It was sad, you know what I mean? And it was even more sad to be working with these kids, because they're wearing uniforms. You know, you don't see them in their, you know, like in their civilian clothing. And that one time we did get to see some of them, like, it brought us to tears, because these kids and their family live in the dumps, and the way they make a living is digging through the dump for recyclables, and they get minimal, and their homes are made with cardboard, aluminum, plastics and stuff that they find in the dump. You know, to see them, how they really dress, and to see where they live, like, yo, you know, it was just a big eye-opener, man, you know. It made me actually, at one point, made me want to like sell everything I own and try to live the simple life, or, you know, or go do something that was more meaningful in life, you know what I mean? And it humbled me hard, you know what I mean? It also, it made me not take things for granted. It made me just be happy with what I have and what my family worked hard to provide for me, and my knowledge and stuff that I share is like, that's all I have, and that's all I want to share now, you know what I mean? I don't want to, it's just, I don't know, dude, like, even thinking back now, like, it just makes me want to throw away all my sneakers or sell my sneakers, and, you know, it's a tripped out thing, man. Like, it makes you very grateful for how you came up, or how you come up here, and just be grateful for family and the people around you, and the people that really matter. You know what I mean? Not just for show or whatever. It's just, that's why I always say, man, always recognize your roots. You know what I mean? Because those were your stepping stones. They fucking carried you and pushed you up to where you're at. And yeah, that project just made me love my parents even more. For getting me where I'm at now. Man, when I was going through these shanty villages made out of trash, I'm like, damn, people talk ghetto, like, yo, I live ghetto, man, but this was like, you don't know ghetto, man. This is deep ghetto. And they lived by this lake that was like a weird tint, like a greenish blue, like they were washing their clothes in it, they're getting their water from it, you know what I mean? I was just like, whoa, now it's different, man. It's I think it's because I wanted to be part of the community, and I worked super hard to get there, and then I ended up meeting a lot of these cats, and a lot of them, they're awesome, and I can even call some of them my homies now. But I think it's mostly the experience, man. Like I can name off tons of artists that aren't in the spotlight or don't travel the world, or like I have bucketfuls of homies that are just fucking super unbelievably talented. You know what I mean? And actually a lot of those guys I would love to paint with them, but a lot of them too are they like being not in the spotlight, or you know what I mean? It's cool, that's their thing. But I mean, some of these guys are so gnarly that I'd love to expose their styles, and mesh it with mine, and see people bug out and be like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, yo, he's been around, he's just on the lay low, Yeah, so on this trip, I got my homie and my brethren, Jalen Nile. He's actually J2 Tats on Instagram. Super talented dude. He's a tattoo artist. He's also a turntablist, a b-boy, a gangster ass motherfucker. He's the coolest shit. He got my back. He's the homie. I'm trying to get him exposed to this kind of stuff, like actually being able to travel and paint and get into that community, and in exchange he decided to pick me up as a apprentice under him, and it's not a true apprentice sense like how people do it in shops or whatever. He's just my homie. He teaches me shit, I teach him shit, and that's my apprenticeship with him. And now he's painting in the other room right now, and he's killing it. So, but I mean, I always wanted to do tattoos, man, because I don't know, man, I'm 41 now, dude, and the travel thing is awesome. I'm not gonna front. I have fun and I love doing it, and I don't want to stop doing it. But there's gonna be a time where I need to do something that's more chill and steady and in one spot, and I can just see myself. I mean, I have so many homies that do tattoos. I have mad homies that own shops, and I think it's a profession that I could comfortably slide into, because I know a lot of people and that are my homies, and then a lot of my really good homies like all do it. So kicking it and all that, it just moves. It's like doing this shit, except it's on skin. At the moment, I do have a full plate. There's always Powwow Hawaii that happens every February. Coming up also is Art Basel Miami. I've been up there the last 6 years, painting walls or doing shows with people. Trying to get to Amsterdam. There's a museum out there that's been wanting me to come and paint, and I'm just waiting on them. But that'd be dope to rock, you know what I mean? But I mean, dude, I'll always be painting big walls, and I love doing it, man. It's cool, man. It's just being able to hop around and paint with other cats. And a lot of stuff coming from my crew, Sandlot and Studio Invincible. And yeah, man, I'm just gonna keep hustling until it slows down. You know, I like this wave. I always think it goes up and down all the time, you know, but it's also fun trying to figure it out. So people can find me on Instagram at Woes, WOES. Also, I have a website. It's www.woeskimartin.com. And I'm also on Facebook too, but you can look me up, Woes Martin. I'm usually on my Instagram, so everything is connected to my Instagram. So if you need to reach me, you can reach me there.
Awesome, man. Thank you very much for coming through, man. We do appreciate it. And me especially, you know, give me an opportunity to sit and catch some words, bro.
Shout out to the homie Josh and the people of Ben. It's been a pleasure to be out here. It's an honor to paint for y'all and kick it out here with y'all green people. Peace.